Yo, what's up? What's popping? It's your boy, the boy behind the scenes. It's Young Dev. It's Young Dev. So today I want us to talk about learning C sharp, man. Like I've started learning C sharp. Yeah. So I've recently started learning C sharp, like ASP.NET, uh, .NET framework, entity framework.core, entity framework core. I mean, so it's been like a very beautiful journey to say. Like I'm currently falling in love with C sharp, man. I'm loving C sharp. I'm loving the syntax. I'm loving the idea behind the .NET. I'm loving the power of C sharp. No, I mean like .NET. I'm loving the power of .NET. I'm loving the power of ASP.NET Core. Because I'm using like the fifth version, which is like ASP.NET Core. So man, it's basically like that shit, man. It's nice. Like you get to understand how this framework, like how these different frameworks work. So like there's this one feature that I like. It's called LINQ. Like it's language. Ah, language querying. But it's something like that. It's like language for querying. So you basically use a LINQ. Let's say maybe you're using .NET, so you use a LINQ if you're working on an API, or if you're working on a back end or whatever system that we have to make some queries on the database. So it's basically that shit, man. Like it LINQ. It give us that beautiful idea, that beautiful easy to use syntax of working with databases and also integrating everything to the front end. So it's a nice thing. And also, like every time if you create a new project on .NET, it's like it gives you that boilerplate code, like that boilerplate code. They say maybe you're using ASP.NET MVC. It gives you like all those controllers, all those views and models which are you know. So basically, like that is the power. That is the power of LINQ. That is the power of using that shit. So I've always been using Java, like using Java, Spring Boot, Spring Batch, whatever. Like I've always been using Spring as my main a framework, because I was using Java. So ever still I started using .NET, I started using ASP.NET. So it's much easier. Even if you're working on a full stack application, let's say you're using an application with Angular and also ASP.NET Core, it's very quite easy to do that shit. It's very quite easy, because like you just get to create a new project, and then it will give you all that boilerplate and all those folders and structured and everything. So you don't have to worry about structuring. So first thing I want to talk about is an IDE. So the IDE that I'm currently using is Visual Studio, obviously. So Visual Studio, like I've been always using Visual Studio for C sharp, like using the desktop applications. So I've always been using Visual Studio. So it's quite easy to integrate everything with Visual Studio. So it's quite easy to integrate everything with Visual Studio, because like Visual Studio, it comes with those beautiful features that you can integrate the version control, the GitHub, GitLab, whatever. You can have like this thing called live share if you're working remote and whatever. So it also has this feature of like there's so many beautiful, like because I always prefer working on an IDE than a text editor. I'm only using Visual Studio Code for if I'm working on a Node app or React or Angular or something front end. I always use Visual Studio Code because of this beautiful lightweight, and also like them some features and themes and all that stuff. But also use IntelliJ. IntelliJ is very nice when you're working on a very beautiful or enterprise application with C sharp. I mean like with Java, JavaScript, database, whatever. So that is what I'm using. I'm using Visual Studio as an IDE. So with the database, I've always been a Postgres person. I've always been in my SQL person. I've always been like I'm just an SQL relational database person. I've never worked with a non-SQL database, honestly. I know MongoDB. I've looked at it in a bit, but I've never like actually built something big or something like that is fully stable or functional with MongoDB. So I haven't tried that one. So I've always been using Postgres, MySQL, SQL.server, TSQL, whatever. So I've always been using those databases. Like I'm just an SQL database developer. Don't fight with me. I'm not saying MongoDB, but I think I'll be learning MongoDB soon. Oracle database and Hadoop, something like that. So I think I'll be like expanding my database knowledge on those databases, man, because I feel like they are strong, they are powerful, and also they are widely used in the enterprise, you know. So yeah, that is the okay. So another thing I've been using is an SQL server. So SQL Server is a very, very, very beautiful ORM. It's a very, very, very beautiful ORM that you can start jumping on, man. Like it gives you it gives you that wild how can I put it? It gives you that wild advantage of using it, because there's this IDE. It's called SQL Server Management or Database Management, something like that. So it gives you that wild advantage, so that you can use like for data reports, data analysis, or database report backup, and what all the stuff. All those beautiful features, they are there on SQL Server Management Studio. So it's very, very beautiful, and also using it for, and also with Visual Studio, it's already like integrated on this shit. So it's already integrated on Visual Studio, so you can work with SQL Server on the Visual Studio. So it's quite easy to integrate your database on the Visual Studio IDE. So it's very, very easy. Same thing as IntelliJ. IntelliJ is very, very easy to use those things, because you just you know. So yeah, that's the IDE, and that's the database. So what else did I want to talk about? Yeah, it's basically that. And the one thing I love about C# is that it's fully offline. Just download your dotNet, create a project, start working. Everything is already integrated, like LINQ, what, just using those namespaces. It's quite easy, unlike some other, like for instance, Spring. Every time we have to add those things on Maven, like, or add those things on Pawn. So it's like that was the kind of shit, but it's always best. Like I'm falling in love with .NET, and I'm currently developing some nice and some cool stuff on .NET, ASP.NET, Angular, Postgres, SQL Server, whatever. So what I'll be learning now, I think I'll be learning like TSQL, because like I'm fully focusing on back end. So I'm focusing on the back end services and microservices and all that stuff. So I just want to learn TSQL so that I can be able to work with the database functions, database procedures, because it comes in hand. Like it's very beautiful when I'm working with TSQL, like the transaction data SQL, the transaction database, to work with and the procedure. So every time we don't have like to write those queries like I will just have to create those procedures, those functions, those database functions, then you're done. So it's very beautiful to start learning something new and all the stuff. So yeah, but one thing I'll be constantly learning and also focusing on is AWS. I will always encourage everyone, always encourage everyone to learn AWS. AWS is everywhere. AWS is everywhere. There are so many beautiful platforms you can use to learn AWS. Don't have like to learn or like and have that qualification as a practitioner or whatever, like as a certified AWS. No, you can even learn this thing on AWS. It's the same concept, just that maybe you won't write an exam. Maybe it's because it's you cannot afford it. Oh, I cannot afford it. Obviously, I can't. So that is why, like, there are so many platforms, man. Like there's LinkedIn Learning. I really recommend LinkedIn Learning, and also they have like some learning parts there. You can learn, follow there's some sort of a curriculum, follow the syllabus and whatsoever. And also Coursera can also still learn the thing. Like it's high, it's really cheap, 180, 150. Udemy, I've never taken a course on Udemy, so I can't recommend, but most people have been recommending Udemy. So yeah, man, like I'm falling in love with Udemy. Like so, I'm falling in love with .NET, man, and ASP.NET Core. So I think I will just call the title of this video falling in love with .NET framework. Yeah. Okay, so on the next episode I will be taking you in depth about the projects that I'm working on, and also be like in a very stable environment. As you can see, I'm just outside, so I'll be in my room looking at some stuff there, showing you some stuff that I'm working on. But it's very beautiful. It's really beautiful. .NET Core, .NET Framework, ASP.NET Core, Entity Framework. Those are very beautiful frameworks that you can start working on and become a Microsoft developer, or a C# developer, or a back-end developer. And then on the front end, I'll also do a video about Angular, like in depth about Angular, and also in depth about databases like SQL database. But for now, on this episode, it's just falling in love with .NET Framework. So and then we'll talk about everything about .NET Framework, and then yeah, don't forget to subscribe, man. If this video was helpful, or if you like you're interested in this series, or if you feel like this series might help you to learn about .NET framework or C# or ASP.NET Core or SQL, don't hesitate, man. Just drop that like, subscribe, share this video. Pew. To jump into the back end using .NET framework. So I think one way to start doing it, or it's not like the only way, or it's not like the best way, but the recommended way is like if you can start learning the data structures and algorithms. Okay, first like you have to know the language, like just understand the object-oriented programming, understand the design patterns, all that stuff, and the syntax and all the stuff, and then understand data structures and algorithms. Once you can understand data structures and algorithms, then you can start working on a .NET framework, ASP.NET, MVC, database and all that stuff. But data structures and algorithms are very, very important. Shout out.